Hi everyone and welcome to Season 4, Episode 4 of From Hope to Glory at Truro City with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So we're at the end of December 2023 and December has been a really good month. We had one minor blip, but other than that, everything's been going very, very well. Today, for the final game of 2023, we play Halifax. They sit in 6th in the Vanarama National League and we still currently sit comfortably on top. Although if you guys could keep an eye out for Torquay, that would be great. Cheers. Welcome back to Truro City. We are doing really, really well there. We'll talk about the recent fixtures in a second, but if we go to the league table, the reason I mentioned Torquay in the intro is that they sit 3 games behind us in terms of what they've currently played. And there's currently an 8-point gap. So if they win all 3 of those games, they could potentially go 1 point ahead of us. But currently we do sit top of the table and we are playing them relatively soon. So that could be quite a key game. Other than that though, the other teams around us have all played a game extra or 2 extra than us. And we are sitting top above them. So we are doing really, really well this season. It's just that minor thought of Torquay in the background. But we'll talk about that after we've played them again. We'll talk about it again after we've played them in a few games time. You can see them coming up on the 9th of January. But for today, it's about Halifax, who currently sit in 6th position in the league. Already played 16 matches compared to our 13. 23 points compared to our 32. We're doing really, really well. So let's just go into the schedule and check out how we've managed to do so well. So here is the recent fixture list that we've been through. You can see that we did have one minor blip in the Vanarama National League. We drew 0-0 against Boreham Wood since the last time you and I were together against Boston United for the previous episode. So we played through December, got through several rounds of both the FA Cup and the FA Trophy as well. And to be honest, I'm quite happy that the draw for the FA Cup second round proper, having already beaten Bedford in the first round, has given us Harrogate. They're in the league above us, League 2. But it's not the worst draw in the world. Can we pull an upset there? Maybe. If we do and we get one of those big boys, we might come back into the 3rd round and play that game in the next episode, possibly. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode because there's a number of options available to us. But before we move on into today's game, there's one thing that I want us to check out and recognise how it's been so successful so far this season. So we've got the last couple of months worth of fixtures here, which we've done very well in, and we've only had 3 fit strikers to play in our 4-4-2 setup. One of them, Charlie Ball, has been injured all the way through, unfortunately. But if you look out for the names of Neil, Horsewood and McJanet, this is why we've been doing so well. So let's go through this quickly in November and just go down the list of goal scorers. Neil, Horsewood, in the next game Horsewood, McJanet, in the next game McJanet, Horsewood, in the next game McJanet, Horsewood, in the next game they didn't score, but then into December Horsewood, Neil, McJanet, Horsewood, Neil, Horsewood. Our strikers have been absolutely magnificent, and sometimes in that scoring 2, 3, 4 goals as well in a game, which is fantastic. And so they have been brilliant. I'm so delighted with our strike force. And today the bonus is that we do have Charlie Ball back as well. And last season he was magnificent for us. And he's played a little bit in the last couple of games just to try and get some match sharpness. Hasn't scored yet, but he's going to get another chance today. One of the reasons he's going to get a chance today is basically because McJanet has picked up a little bit of a knock and would normally be in our first team 11. So he's out of the squad just for today. He'll be back in the next couple of games. Next couple of days, should I say. So we'll start to get some match sharpness back into him. Andrew Neil has been doing fantastically well in the last month or so, but he drops to the bench today as we continue to try and get some match sharpness into Charlie Ball and get all 4 of our strikers scoring goals and really pushing us forward. Horsewood has been fantastic for us. He's got 15 goals in 11 starts and 6 substitute appearances, which is phenomenal. Let's go and check out the others as well, just to show where they're at. Andrew Neil, 13 goals in 12 starts and 1 substitute appearance. And the youngster McJanet, who we have in on loan from Luton this season, he's got 11 in 14 starts and 2 substitute appearances. So it is Charlie Ball that we need to get scoring some goals just to get on par with them. But you can see he's hardly had a chance to play. He's only played 3 starts and 2 substitute appearances. So today is another opportunity for him to get on the score sheet. But we've got Andrew Neil sitting on the bench. We've got the top goal scorer so far, Horsewood, in the starting 11. And the other thing to tell you about is because we've dropped a lone player out of the side, we've managed to bring Williams into the side because he is my preferred option to play this central midfield role this season. And hopefully we're just about to be able to solve our loan problem. Our problem is that I got one too many into the club. It's fine for them to be in the club, but you can only have 5 in your match day squad, and we've currently got 6. But we are possibly going to solve it, and through this player, DiMaggio Wright Phillips, because we've put in a bid for him to buy him as soon as we can, and that would take him off our loan list, which would be fantastic. He's doing really well for us. He's had a little bit of an injury recently, which is why he's only played 7 times out of the sort of 15 or whatever it is that some of others have played. But he's got 2 goals so far, and he's doing really well from that right-sided midfield role on the right wing. He's on loan from Brentford currently, but because his contract is up in the summer, we could potentially wait till that point. But I just wanted to see if I could put a sort of cheeky bid in of just around his value and see if they'd accept it, and they did. So potentially, if he accepts the contract and it all goes through, we could have him in very, very soon on a permanent deal, which would be great. And that would change what we can do and bring Williams much more into the reckoning for our central midfielder. So that would be fantastic because he is really good. He's not quite lit the place up yet, but I think with a run of games he potentially could. Anyway, all of that is for future stuff. For today, we've got Halifax sitting in 6th position. Tricky game. They are a decent side in this league and they're showing it this season, but we're doing well, and let's see if we can keep that going. So for today's game, we've got a team out of Roberts in goal, Rogers at right back, Dunlan at left back, Kazoo and Whitmore in central defence, Bucock and Williams in central midfield, Wright Phillips on the right, D'Souza on the left, and Ball and Horsewood up top, with a bench of Stavrou, Casey, Silla, Salam and Neil. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. We had all number of opportunities for a positive team talk here, and the one that I've decided to go with is to pump my fist and say we've been on a good run lately. Go out there and impress me and continue that run. I just want to put the onus occasionally on them to keep moving forward, keep getting better, and keep wanting to impress the manager. That's potentially what I was going for. It seemed to get a decent response, so we'll see what happens. We're at home today, which is always a help. But as I say, Halifax are going to be tricky. They're playing a 4-3-3 compared to our 4-4-2, should I say. So there might be 1 or 2 gaps around the place. We'll have to look in that central midfield area again and make sure we don't get outnumbered too much, and that we can find the benefits of playing the 4-4-2 and work our way around the outside maybe. But just at the moment, we get a really, really good interception there by D'Souza. Nick the ball, Wright Phillips over the top for Charlie Ball, and he hits the woodwork, I think. It was either the woodwork or something behind the goal that it hit. Anyway, it goes away for a goal kick, but at least we got through on goal, challenged one of our strikers to get a decent effort on, and he sort of did, but it didn't quite manage to make the goalkeeper work. 35 minutes in, that's all that's happened in this half though. There's been some chances around, some good shots at goal, and some reasonable ones on target as well, but not quite of the quality that we've been looking for or expecting so far this season. And we reached half time. One highlight, that Charlie Ball effort that didn't quite challenge the goalkeeper, and that was it. little bit disappointing, but you can see in terms of the stats for the game so far, we've had 6 shots at goal compared to their 3, 4 on target for us, 2 on target for them, a 0.93 XG rating. So we're pushing towards that 1 XG rating, which should in theory give us a goal, compared to their 0.07 XG rating. So they've had absolutely dreadful attempts at goal so far. Possession wise, it's been fairly even. I'm a little bit disappointed that we haven't just pushed our advantage home a little bit, but let's see if we can do that in the second half. So we're gonna go with the outstretched arms, and we're gonna say, keep playing the way you have, the result will come. I think it was good enough in terms of the opportunities that we've had just to find that one goal. As soon as we get in, though, we are going to demand more from them and just see whether we can gain an extra advantage from that. But it's Halifax with a highlight down the left-hand side early in the second half. The cross comes in really deep, and the goalkeeper goes down very quickly and gathers the ball really comfortably on that far post. Roberts doing very well for us there, and that takes away that particular moment of danger. And you can see so far in the second half, it's been very, very quiet. Very few shots at goal. So we're going to come back out and we're going to change things up a little bit. We're just going to see where the problem lies a little bit. And bizarrely, you can see that there's a couple of places. Williams in central midfield, not quite doing it today so far. But the key one up front is Horsewood, who's been phenomenal this season since he's been playing. And today, quite a long way below par. So we're gonna just take him out. I pressed the wrong button there for a second. We're going to take him out of the firing line and put Neil in. Charlie Ball and Neil was the partnership that we were looking forward to seeing this season, having both of them done well for us last season individually when we were playing one up top. And it's pretty much the first time we've been able to play it. So we'll have to see how that gets on. But we are also just going to change the mentality up into attacking, just to see if we can get a couple more chances. So we're going to play the next sort of 10-15 minutes of the game, just see if we can get something from that before thinking about a couple more changes. We're not. The time is absolutely flying by and still nothing is happening, which is really disappointing. Considering how well we've done so far this season, it's always disappointing when you reach a game where it's just not quite reaching the heights that you know it should. So here we go. We're going to change it round a little bit. Silla comes in. We'll switch those two round. They play those roles slightly better if we allow those to switch. And then we need to probably make Wright Phillips, I think, is an issue as well. We could make a defensive change, but I don't feel the need to. I think what we're going to do is going to take a chance. We're going to bring Wright Phillips off. We're going to bring Salam on, but we're going to leave him over on that far side and then just change his role. I know it looks bad, but I think that's the best we can do with no right-sided midfielder on the bench currently. That's really the best that we've got. And we're just going to have to change it up a little bit. So we're going to go back into the shouts and absolutely fire up the team if we can for the last 15 minutes of the game. Dunlan with a corner kick. Here's a chance. At the far post, it's Neil, but he loses out. D'Souza will pick up the loose ball, though. Drifts past one defender. Long shot from him. And it goes sailing over the top of the bar. Not by much, but enough. Just not really to worry the goalkeeper too much. And again, it's Halifax, this time down on the far side. Long ball over the top, but it's straight into the hands of the goalkeeper. No problems whatsoever. And can we keep this particular highlight going with a long ball over the top for ourselves? We don't really. They win it in the defensive unit and come back straight back at us, but we win it back in our defensive unit and again go long early. We should be going down the wide areas more than anything else. And now is the chance to do that. And there's the good switch. And it's Salam down this right-hand side onto Neil into the box. Gets pushed wide into the ball, into the box for Ball. I nearly got my words out properly there. But Charlie Ball, on his return to action properly, having missed a load of action for us through injury, gets on the score sheet. And it's Salam down this right hand side, drops the ball into Neil. He gets pushed slightly wide but puts the ball brilliantly roughly around the penalty spot, and the on running Charlie Ball puts the ball home in the back of the net, and we go 1-up with about 8 minutes to play. Can we continue this momentum and maybe even nick another goal and just secure this particular match? It doesn't look like we're going to have to, potentially. The time is ticking by, and there you go. The final whistle goes. This is not a vintage display from my Truro City side. They have, as you've seen, they've been scoring bucket loads of goals through the last couple of months. Today, not so much, but it was against a top 6 opponent, and a top 6 opponent that were on a decent enough run of form themselves, and we did come away with the 3 points. So what are we going to be able to learn today from the analysis page? Well, I think quite a lot, but generally speaking, it'll be that we didn't take our chances, really. We created 10, got 6 on target, but only a 1.45 XG rating, which isn't quite as good as maybe I'd like it to be from the amount that we did create. Possession was slightly down, but fairly even in the game, and you can see that 77% of passing completion was all right, but I'd prefer it just a little bit higher, into the 80s a little bit if we could. So some good things in there, some not so good. If we go into the more detailed version of the analysis data, you can see that the chances we created, there's a fair few out the edge of the box here that were very long efforts from D'Souza and Charlie Ball specifically that didn't really trouble the goalkeeper, which was disappointing. But we did have a few in that central penalty area kind of spot, which maybe we should have been looking to do something a little bit better with. In terms of what they created, all of them in that box, all of them in good positions, and we did pretty well, obviously, to block some shots, save some shots, and occasionally they put it out as well, away off the target. So not too bad. We didn't win the midfield battle on this occasion, so they occasionally, when we come up against teams that have got that extra man in that central midfield position, it can be sometimes slightly difficult. And what you did see, which I'm not overly happy about just at the moment, there's still some tweaking to be done, is that we tended to go long quite early down the centre of the pitch rather than working our way round the outside using the custom wing play that in theory the instructions suggest that we should be doing. So there's some tweaking to be done there, but other than that we came away with the points, so we can't be too disappointed today. And there is the star of our show for today, Charlie Ball, on his return. You've seen that he's only playing a couple of games so far this season because of his bad injury that he received, so getting him on the score sheet is a real bonus, isn't it? If we go and look in more detail at the chances that we created today, so we'll just look at our own and cut the Halifax ones out. We got the 1 goal from Charlie Ball from around the penalty spot, set up by Neil. We had 4 that were off target, those 3 from way outside the box, and 1 from Wright Phillips directly at the penalty spot as well. Kind of should have done better with that potentially. None of them hit the woodwork. We had 5 that were saved by the goalkeeper and some good positions as well, and that's where we didn't take advantage of the ones that we did create. The goalkeeper had a pretty good game overall, and that's our shooting story for today. It wasn't particularly fantastic compared to the numbers of goals that we've been getting recently. Maybe just shifting that striking role, those striking positions around a little bit because McJanet was injured, etc. Charlie Ball just coming back into fitness. Maybe that just unsettled the momentum slightly there, but we'll have to see what happens with that over the next couple of games, really. In terms of the passes, we'll look at the pass completed because it just makes me giggle. Other than that, the intercepted passes, not too bad today. All of these ones are basically clearing the lines, so I'm not too worried about that. Although we did notice, as I say, that we did go long quite early and didn't win it in these kinds of positions, which puts us under pressure. So in theory, we may need to stop the goalkeeper going long and maybe send him round the outside in terms of his distribution. Something that I'll work on in the next couple of games just to see if we can improve that slightly. 1 blocked pass on the edge of the box, 59 that were unsuccessful passes. Again, we don't worry so much about these clearing their lines, but I would prefer if they didn't go so long, and we don't worry about the throw-ins either. One of those occasionally works and makes us look really good. Other than that, it's not too bad. It's these ones in the middle of the park here, really, that in theory, if we're going to improve anything, it's got to be these. So there might be some individual instructions to those central midfielders that we could potentially work on that might just change how they move the ball forward a little bit. Out of play, there's a couple today from the goalkeeper and a couple trying to get into the last third of the pitch, but not too bad again. So our passing wasn't terrible, but 77% in completion. I would just like that just up a little notch. Those occasional long balls, changing those slightly, and then maybe we'd be even further away from Halifax by the end of the game in terms of the scoreline. But the key passes, there were several that came into the box and we didn't quite manage to make the most of them. And that is ultimately the way it went for today, really. But just before we move on from this, we're just going to highlight occasionally the goalkeeper, because he plays a really important part alongside our defenders. Whilst we focus a little bit on the shooting of what we do, this guy is playing really well. Roberts in goal for us, still on loan from Derby County. Can we get him in permanently at the end of the season? I think his contract might be up. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But he held 3 of the shots that he saved in and around the 6-yard box, and he parried one. He had to come out quite narrow the angle down, it looks like, to do that, and there were none that tipped over the bar. So on 4 occasions he helped save us today. But if we also look in on the tackles won by the defenders as a unit in front of him, we won 13 down the sides primarily, the fullbacks working really, really hard, supported by the occasional defensive midfielder, etc., to win the ball back. I'll block those crosses, etc., down the wings, which means that we were fairly empty in the centre of our penalty box in terms of the tackles that we needed to win. Tackles lost, we did lose occasionally, of course, we're always going to do that, but it's not too bad at all, is it really? But there were no key tackles that were necessary today, and I think that's pretty much what I want to have a look at. We'll just look at one more stat, and it's the headers one, and this is where the central defenders came into their own for today, even moving slightly further out and winning them higher up the pitch, whereas the tackles were won out wide, the headers were won more centrally. So the defensive unit is working really well along with the goalkeeper. Today though, we couldn't quite put the ball in the back of the net quite enough from the chances that we created. So back into the schedule page for figuring out where we come back for in the next episode. It could be quite a couple of different options, really. We've got a couple of cup games in here already. The game against Harrogate in the FA Cup second round proper, which is fantastic. We've also got the Build Base FA Trophy fourth round, but that's not a competition I particularly want to focus on, having done that already this series. So we're not going to worry so much about that unless we get into the final, for example. But what I might do is I might say, if we beat Harrogate, which I'm not sure that we will because they are ahead of us in the division above us, but if we do and we come back for the third round and some of the big boys are in it and we get one of those, then we will come back and play that game in the middle of January, wherever that falls. If we don't, because of how it's working through this particular season and where how long the season lasts, we're going to come back in the early part of February. Having gone through a January transfer window, I don't think anything's going to happen in it potentially, other than maybe that Wright Phillips deal, fingers crossed. But other than that, I don't see much happening. But we'll come back in early February. I'll update you with anything that may have happened. There might have been one or two that go, which may change what we do. But so it'll either be we come back for a third round fixture if it's a big enough club to do that with, or we come back at the very beginning of February and we play Ebbsfleet in the Vanarama National League. And Ebbsfleet currently are sitting directly behind us in the league in second position. So that will be quite an interesting game to come back to. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. It's been a fantastic run, and the run continues, even if just a little bit today it was a little bit below par in performance. But they're going to happen. We continue with the 3 points though. We're sitting really comfortably top of the league. Still looking at Torquay though as the potential issue, depending on what happens in the game against them. So lots still to do in this particular series, in this particular season, should I say. So come back next episode and we'll play one of those games either in the FA Cup or the game in the Vanarama National League. Until then, though, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. There's lots of ways to do that these days. You can join me on Twitter or on my Discord. You can support me through Patreon or my merch store. All of those links in the description below, so go and check all of those out. Until next time, though, click that like button on this particular episode if you haven't already. That helps me get seen by lots of other people and shows me you're invested in the content. But take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.